to realize that you're operating in the expired version of yourself every single time that you're interacting with your family members. The old you, the pseudo you, not the authentic you. One of the telltale signs that you've outgrown your family is emotional fatigue. The moment you're around them, it's like your social battery just drops. It's a neurological workout being around them because your brain has to work on overdrive, remembering the structure and the system and the roles that everybody plays, and mum does this and dad does this, and we know someone's going to kick off here. On the inside, you're wrestling emotions. You're trying to control your irritation. You're trying to control your reactions. You're considering the future outcomes if you respond the way that you know that you should respond. You're trying to find solutions. It's emotionally exhausting. You're walking into an environment where you know, in 5 seconds, someone's going to say something really stupid, emotionally hurtful. And it's exhausting. You have to protect yourself from the people and the situations that persistently drain your energy or hurt your feelings. Because our DNA is not a life sentence.
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are no longer your ways. Necessary part of adulthood whereby we have to leave the nest, grow and live independently, and set our own value systems and live the life that is integral and authentic to us. Nonetheless, we come from a family unit. Our family unit is the most powerful unit to which we can belong. It literally continuously shapes the course of our life. Our parents teach us the ways in which we should think about the world, what is important, what is unimportant, and about our own self-worth. Whether overtly or covertly, children learn from their parents. We learn from them. About who to love, who not to love, how to be loved, and how we should love ourselves. Families can reproduce by genetics, advantages and disadvantages, social, economic, cultural resources, life choices. They literally shape the opportunities that are set up for us to live and go forth, to experience the world. There are various family types, okay? So when we're having this conversation about outgrowing our family, we have to respect the fact that non-traditional families are on the rise with an increased proportion of children in shared residential arrangements. There are single parent families. There are two unmarried partners who are together raising families, same sex, opposite sex, multi-generational families, adoptive families, foster families, extended family living, there's loads of different family types. Nonetheless, they are all teaching us something about the structure and they're all teaching us something about the way in which we are to interact with other humans, how we relate. The reality is that your family structure does not exist in isolation. Your parents have adopted ideas, norms, values from their family of origin, and they have transferred that over. From what they decided to internalize, embrace, what they discarded, they have formulated something from their existing family. So we can never talk about outgrowing family when there is a generational line that potentially has a way of thinking, a way of doing things, a religious background, an economic status in which they're flowing from. And these relationship patterns are adapted and replicated from generation to generation. How we do conflict, how we do distance, how we do closeness, how we do togetherness, how emotionally mature each parent is going to be, how they're going to relate with their children. That has already been programmed before you even got here into the world. The value of parental time, the value of employment, and building a financial foundation, the transmission of norms, values. There's a culture. Every family dynamic has a culture. One that speaks of responsibility. Who holds responsibility? Who doesn't hold responsibility? What is the ethics of this home? What behaviors are accepted and what behaviors are not accepted? What does respect look like? What does love look like? Do we value education? How do we do conflict? And sometimes it's not until you come out of your family system and you observe and the ways in which other people do things, and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Shouting at the top of our lungs is not normal behavior. We can have a family meeting that is orderly. The parent-child relationship is supposed to be one of closeness, of security, of soothing, of love, of warmth, of compassion, of empathy. And this particular parent, they just don't have it. And they are unwilling to learn. And I am risking the ability to form secure attachments because I do not know how to trust even my own caregiver. There is such an there is a huge display of emotional immaturity, whereby their own needs, wants, desires are consuming them. And they see childbirth and having kids as a way to repair their inability to self-actualize. And so having children is a means to an end. Helping them to feel more loved, helping them to feel more worthy, helping them to feel important and competent. Usually when you outgrow your family unit, it starts off with the parents. And I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail into some of the parental styles that you will see in dysfunctional family settings and explore with you why it leads to this desire to break free. You have your pageant parent. They have created a dynamic with the child whereby they are using their children as mirrors for themselves of who they wish they were. So the child is an extension of their accomplishments. Similar to the showbiz parent who uses the parental-child relationship to, again, mirror to themselves their desires, their wishes. They love the children for what they do. They love their children for what they do and not necessarily for who they are. They are eager to ensure that their child is the smartest, the most athletic, the most talented, the most famous, so they can be put to the forefront, so they can brag about their child. It isn't necessarily what's best for the child. It has very little to do with the child. Then you have superstar parents who compete with their offspring. They remind their children that they will never be as good as they are. You have the dismissive parent, not connected to the child in any meaningful way. Parents who are unavailable emotionally, financially. They may provide the most basic of necessities, but from their point of view, this is ultimate parenting. This is all they have. They may be home every single day, but they have no idea about your life. They have no idea about your interests. They have no idea about what's going on in your world, in your friendship groups. The complete disregard. Even worse, you get the donor parent. They've completely abdicated their responsibility of what a parent should do, the pathway that they should offer, the teachings that they post-fertilization, just completely out of the picture. Sowing the seeds of lovelessness. And then they come and they do a little appearance here and there. So as children, you can't even predict whether the parent is going to appear or disappear. Whether the parent's going to appear or disappear. You can't quite predict what's going to happen with this kind of parent, the dismissive and the donor parents. Similarly, you have your acquaintance parent. They can offer the basic necessities. They're kind. They're polite to their children. But in a way that it's like an acquaintance. There's no attention to detail. Their ability to express their admiration, their care, their love, their support, their sense of pride, it's just stunted. Seesaw parent. Sometimes up, sometimes down. Again, you don't know where they stand. They're also very difficult to predict. One day they're your best friend. One day they hate you. And so these ruptures, for a long time as a child, you have to accept that by reason of the fact that they ensure your survival, you find ways to manage. But as you grow an adult, you realize, wait, I don't have to strive for love anymore. I don't have to keep begging for approval anymore. I don't have to hope that my parents care about me in a more sincere and unconditional way. Wait, I don't have to perform anymore. Because what you will find with emotionally immature parents is that love is not as available as they present. Everybody has a love tank that they've walked into this life with. And some people will be like, I'm giving you my all. I'm doing everything for you. But their love tank is like this. But the average love tank should be like this. There comes a point where you realize, actually, this is not going to change. And the change that I want to see has to begin with me. The change that I want to see is not going to appear in this paradigm. I have to come to the acceptance of this. As children, we have healing fantasies in our childhood to almost cure the pain of lovelessness, or to almost cure the confusion, or to almost cure the fact that you're never really experiencing any form of emotional depth from your parents. To cure the emotional loneliness, you build healing fantasies. And you tell yourself, if only I were more famous. If only I was more smart in school. If only. Your healing fantasy is the thing that you feel would enable you to access the love of the parents that brought you into this world. And you form adult relationships and you're like, wait, I'm beginning to project my healing fantasies on others. But if you're not growing, you are dying. And you start to go back and you start to meet people, you start to come into yourself and you interact with your family again. And it's like you have to be the expired version of yourself to even engage in conversation with them. You start to realize that you're operating in the expired version of yourself every single time that you're interacting with your family members. The old you. The pseudo you. Not the authentic you. And it could be anything from you've progressed socioeconomically, you're flying way above your family. And there's always these snide comments. There's always these weird snide comments. Oh, he thinks he's better. Oh, she thinks she's a much nicer person. Oh, who does she think she is? Or an underlying or a quiet jealousy. And so when you come into this environment, you don't want to talk about a promotion. You don't want to talk about a pay rise. You don't want to talk about the new job that you're about to do. Because it's always going to come with something. The paradigm has chosen, the unit has chosen a comfortability that you are no longer comfortable with, and they resent you for that. Because it reflects back on their lack of growth. Sometimes you start interacting with them and then it's like you feel so burdened with guilt again. You feel so burdened with guilt. The critical voices. You know, because you spent a lot of your childhood trying to solve problems, trying to help people out, being selfless, being the sacrificial lamb, being the helpful one, going above and beyond. And then when you're deciding to put boundaries up in your life, you're feeling guilty. Because they require you to be the sacrificial one so they don't have to rise to the responsibilities that they have, whether that be siblings or parents. And you're becoming overly sacrificial to the point of resentment, and you've decided, okay, no more, I have boundaries now. And that is met with shock. What this family taught me about relationships just is holding me back. I don't trust people because they are not trustworthy people. Lies, deceits, secrets. And then when you decide that you're going to be the whistleblower, you're cast out, you're the black sheep. So as you've come to acceptance that you've outgrown, you're going to have to really learn to build a better relationship with yourself. Be available to yourself in the way that you've longed for the people in your life to be available to you. The caregivers, the support structure, the siblings. The self-neglect has to come to an end. Because if you're not careful, you're going to continue to self-neglect and cause other people to try and fill the void, doing exactly what the generational line did. You have to do something different. Cultivate your own level of self-esteem. Take pride in the things that you've done. Yes, nobody celebrated you. Yes, you know, they had a difficulty praising you or they overly praised you. And so now you're in a place of confusion around your successes. But learn to take pride and delight in the growth and the resilience that you've had to do something different. Many a times when we're from a very specific family dynamic that has a very specific form of functioning, whether that be cultural, whether that be traditional, whether that be the own kind of weird twisted way that we let to display love to each other, sometimes people use guilt to force closeness. And very self-preoccupied parents will try and be super entitled to your life and intrude and push your opinions even as you adult and try to move away. They're finding ways to pull you back. And you have to place those boundaries, enforce those boundaries, and be honest with yourself about what makes you feel safe and comfortable. And if it's not here, it's not here. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to cut off your parents or your family or your siblings. For some people, it's come to that point whereby the abuse was so aggressive, or it's come to a point whereby they cannot have any contact with their parent. But for many of us, it is a thing of setting those boundaries, being clear of what is acceptable within our horizon and what is not going to be acceptable. And you're going to have to learn a new climate for safety. A new temperature for comfortability. Because in certain environments, we become so accustomed to verbal abuse, emotional abuse, disrespect, disregard, destructive forms of conflict, that we become accustomed to this. And as we're rewiring on our path of growth through therapy, through healthier interactions, and we're learning ourselves again, we need to find safety and reconnect with our own emotions and learn a healthier climate and begin to pay attention to what truly makes us feel safe. Not just what we're familiar with. I hope this video resonates with somebody and It would be amazing if you share your views and just comment below on some of the experiences that you've had with potentially outgrowing your family, and what ways you outgrew your family and how you're navigating that, because it is really extremely tough when the closest ties that you feel like you have on this earth just no longer share the bond that they once had with you, and coming into that acceptance. So I hope you really like this video. Please comment, please subscribe, please like and share, and I hope to speak with you all soon.